excited to have this dear brother on the podcast today. And seeing what you share online, seeing your evolution, seeing who you are and how embodied you are. Out of the men I know in my life, you are one of the most whole men that I have experienced. So
thank you, brother.
Very grateful to have you on the podcast, man.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, I'm really grateful to be here, and I feel the same. I can say the same. It's a reflection in a lot of ways. I feel your wholeness, and it's something I noticed about you from the beginning, and also seeing the embodiment and the depth and the groundedness. It's just been really cool. It feels like a big blessing to walk the path with you.
As I've been doing recently, inviting guests to bring us into a little practice that I've experienced actually twice from you, and it's been one of the most simple but profound experiences of bringing me to the present moment.
This is a grounding technique to really become more present, like Ryan just said. And for me, one of the practices is getting more into my body and getting more into my sensations and sensuality. And I think it's really important for a man to be able to connect to this, but really everyone in general. And it's our sensations that are always happening in the present moment. So this is a 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique, and wherever you're listening, you can explore this. So to start with your eyes open, just scan the space you're in and notice 5 things that you can see without labeling, without judging as like, this is beautiful or ugly, or this is a candle, or just be the observer and notice these 5 things. Notice your environment. And then as long as you're not driving, close your eyes and tune into your other senses now. So see if you can notice 4 things that you can feel, 4 sensations in your body, sensations of touch. This could be the points of contact between your body and the earth or the chair that you're in. It could be the temperature of the air on your skin, the clothing on your skin. 4 things you can feel, again, without judgment, just observing. And then notice 3 sounds, 3 things that you can hear. Without labeling or identifying, just noticing the phenomena of sound as it arises and as it passes away. And then tune in and see if you can notice 2 aromas, 2 smells. And then bring your awareness to your mouth and notice 1 taste. Notice the taste in your mouth. Maybe it's food that you had recently. Maybe it's a little bit of a sensation of like staleness. Check in. Yeah, and then just notice, really inhabit your body, be in your body, and here we go.
That's good.
Yeah.
I love that one. It's amazing how much in that practice I notice how much is going on.
Yeah.
Because like with the body, especially with the sensation one, it just makes me realize how much is happening, how much I can be aware of if I pause.
Totally.
Definitely the hardest one is smelling. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm trying to get other smells. And
I hear women's sense of smell is way stronger than men. So I wonder how that goes.
It's just we're so masculine. Yeah. That's why I can't smell.
Just can't smell shit.
Testosterone must be so high you can't.
For sure. That's right.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. It was
really
good to ground
you talking about all these sensations. It's really interesting. One of the things I noticed through this practice is this. It's also a spiritual teaching. Ram Dass says it a lot. You'll find what you're looking for.
Yeah.
So there's a part of our brain, the reticular activating system, that filters out like 90% of our sensory input to help us find what we're looking for. So it's actually like our brain, our being, our nervous system is taking in so much information at once, and it filters out to help us find what we are searching for. And it's really important to notice, to have the awareness of what am I looking for? Because if I'm looking for things to complain about or threats or whatever it may be, then I'm gonna find evidence for that. There's constant evidence for everything. Ram Dass says, if I'm looking for God, I'll find God, right? Or if I'm looking for something to be grateful for or pleasant sensations, I'm gonna find it. So it's interesting to recognize that. And this for me is why both the embodiment work, nervous system work, nervous system regulation, and also mindset work is so powerful, because what I'm looking for, I'm gonna find.
I like that you bridge that. It's not just into spirituality and it's not just science-based, but it's kind of bridging those worlds, which I think you do so well. And I noticed that in your yoga classes, you'll talk about spirit, you'll talk about the essence of like traditional yoga, and then you'll bring it back to science and like modern technology and how we can look at it. And I think that's a beautiful medicine that you have. You bridge those worlds, which as a teacher, I think is necessary, but it's something I definitely want to get into with you, of becoming a teacher or stepping into somebody who facilitates. It kind of naturally threads because you just facilitated and then you brought in, this is the brain, this is what happens. But this is a teaching and this is your storytelling, man. It's phenomenal how you can bridge so many different aspects that most people will limit themselves to being like, oh, I can speak to knowledge, or I can speak to this, like this is what I do. Or, you know, like, I'm a yogi, so I'm only going to speak to kind of traditional standard yoga styles. And then they get away from the relatability that you have, which is adaptability. I've seen you in different spaces and containers and holding the grid in all of them, right? Like you can just show up and drop in with anybody. And yeah, I wonder, is that a skill to be trained? Is that something you've always had? And like facilitation for you, how have you dropped in and cultivated these abilities to really hold space for people?
Yeah. Well, one thing that I have found is super important as a facilitator is the ability to have empathy, the ability to tune in. And something I've noticed this about myself first, and then really others, is we all have a certain lens that we look through based on our own experience, based on our own triumphs and challenges. And for me, it feels really important as a facilitator to recognize that other people are looking through a different lens. So this idea of maybe bringing in the deep spiritual teachings, but also the scientific facts, recognizing that different people are going to relate to different things. And this to me feels really important, to recognize that people are going to have very different lenses than what I'm looking through. And if I get into the dogma of like, no, this is the way, I'm forgetting that it's like too much in my humanness. It's great to have both. I believe of like ascension and descension. Be in your humanness, but also recognize there's this oneness behind all of it. Yeah, and just realizing that we all have different information. We all have a little bit of a different background. That to me feels super important in facilitation.
How did you navigate that? Where did you come from on the spectrum to where you had to bounce back? I know you were in corporate America for a bit, and we can speak to that as much as you want, but more importantly, with that, we're all on the spectrum somewhere in that regard, and different spectrums for sure. But how did you bring in and find that way of facilitating?
Yeah, that's interesting. The first thing that comes up for me is, for such a long time in my life, I was a people pleaser, chameleon. So in some ways, there's light and darkness to everything. So in some ways, the light of this is I could connect with, feels like almost anyone, any age, any background. And a lot of this was like the people pleaser chameleon aspect of me. And then as I started to alchemize that from a wound into like, okay, wow, there's actually a lot of wisdom and benefit here that I didn't know at first. So it's one of these things of being able to turn something that was like a shadow into a gift. And I feel like that's one really big aspect. And also just learning and just tuning in and being curious about other people's experiences. Holding space for me, I've noticed I can take up a lot of space in life. And when I'm holding space, I really have to set the intention of like, I'm here to hold space, not take up space. And the more I hold space and listen, the more I get to learn about these different perspectives and be curious, keeping this like growth mindset of it's not just the way that I know. There's many ways.
It's interesting you bring up the people pleasing. I come from that side of the spectrum as well. And I don't know if you've noticed this also, but with facilitators, people that kind of do like impact work, heart-led work, a lot of us tend to be people pleasers. I notice that. It's rare that I hear somebody that's in a line of service and they don't have that background, that thread of being a people pleaser at some point in their family dynamic, in their relationships, and whatever path they had in life, because that's naturally there. It's rooted in love, I feel, most of the time. Probably fear drove it at some point, but it comes from wanting love, feeling like you deserve love, or wanting somebody else to experience love. And that's an essence of the light of the people pleaser. And it's cool that you say that, because it's also been a path of mine to recognize the beauty in that. When I said adaptability, people pleasing does make you ultra adaptable, because you have to be hyper aware of people and what even to detriment what they could be thinking or believing. That's the dark side, is how much thought it could take up. So to shift from that, because now I don't experience you as a people pleaser at all. I experience you as somebody who can please people. But, you know, I see you really honoring yourself and like honoring your boundaries and strong in that. You know, that's my experience of you. I don't know how true that is, but to be a strong leader, to be a figure, and as a man, to be a whole man, you have to step into that, come into that. So how does that start coming together?
For me, one of the things that has really helped with this is really through men's work is like sharpening my sword and having this sword of clarity, because this is also a thing that I carry when space holding, because in one way it's empathy, compassion, being open, but it's also really important to have the sword to cut through bullshit that comes up, to cut through if somebody's in some of the work that I do, there's this part of us called like the gremlin that avoids responsibility and tries to like kill intimacy and kill spaces. And it's important to have the sword to be like, no, you're not coming into this space. To the gremlin, not necessarily to the person. I've heard this in men's work that there's two main things that we cultivate as a man. We cultivate our heart, the openness, the compassion. Maybe even this is a little bit of the feminine energy that lives within us. And then also the sword, where it's like the boundary, the discernment, the ability to say no. For me, that was huge work, is cultivating the sword, which really also came from doing conscious feelings work, being able to reclaim my anger, because I pushed anger away at an early age. My friends would be like, you have a bad temper. And it was a little destructive. And I saw from my parents or other figures that anger was violent or would cause destruction or harm. So I pushed away anger. I exiled this part of my being. And really until just a few years ago, when I learned a new way, a new map of seeing what anger is, I didn't have it. And then as soon as that came back online, a lot of the people pleaser tendencies were cut away, because I had this ability to say no, the ability to set a boundary. And this has also made me a way better space holder and facilitator, a way better man, a way better friend. It's been a huge gift to cultivate that. So I'd say that was one of the biggest tools that helped me to alchemize that shadow of people pleasing into the gift of relation and holding space and compassion and empathy.
I love this. And I've heard sharpen the sword in many different ways in contexts and containers. You mentioned one somatic practice, which is get in touch with your anger and use it.
Yeah.
But as you are somebody who is well experienced and versed in somatic work, could you bring us through maybe some other things you could do if somebody's listening, like, I want to sharpen my sword? Like, what do I do? How do I start practicing that? How do I start getting this thing sharp?
This is great. For me, the energy of the sword is conscious anger. So feelings work in general is really powerful. And in this one map that I've learned, and now I share it with others, it's anger is the archetype of the warrior, when anger is conscious. And anger is the energy that allows us to set boundaries and to say yes and to say no and to stop things or start things and have clarity. So this energy of sword does feel like conscious anger to me. There are other ways, other practices. And, you know, I think a lot of life, this is another element that I really look at and invite in, even in my facilitation, is life is a laboratory. So we get to practice, and whatever we practice more of, like yoga is a practice, whatever we practice on our mat or just practice in life, we tend to get better at. So to sharpen this sword, it's practicing setting boundaries and holding boundaries. Starts within also. For me, discipline is a practice of the sword. It's an art of the sword. So having discipline, right now, a recent one for me is I got gifted these nail boards, and just standing on the nails every day. You got some? Yeah, just standing on the nails every day and doing it for an extended period of time. One, standing still for me sometimes is challenging, right? Just being in one place. And two, after time, it gets pretty uncomfortable. There's a lot of sensation. So for me, these practices of discipline help to cultivate the sword. And I said anger is the archetype of the warrior, when we're really able to consciously feel and express anger. And the warrior, like the old paradigm, is like machine gun yielding, like fuck everybody. And for me, the new one is like a samurai, where I'm in stillness and I'm calm, but when it's necessary, sword comes out.
I noticed when I was in your class the other day, we did, what was it, Warrior 2? We're holding arms out.
Yes.
I noticed in
for
that,
like 5 minutes.
Yeah, so long. Fuck you for that. But I loved it. And I'm wanting to like explore this because as men, as anybody, but as men in particular listening, it can be this dance between push, 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 push. Where is that coming from? Why are we pushing?
Right.
Why are we angry? What are we doing it from and for?
Yep.
And then listen.
Yeah.
So how do you, with clients, with people that you train in the teacher trainings and these things, how do you start to decipher and help people when it's anger come truth instead of this, past pains and just making those are resurfacing because they're afraid.
Yeah.
And then actually letting people start to listen to their body. Even if something hard is happening, be like, hey, you don't have to do it. It's beautiful to fail. It's actually, if you intentionally stop, that's an amazing thing. That can also be really profound.
Yeah.
How do you start bringing those things in?
Yeah. One of the things, relating it back to yoga, so hatha yoga, the physical practice, hatha is, sometimes you go to a yoga studio and they'll have a hatha class, but really hatha is the umbrella of the yoga of breath and posture. And hatha is, is the root for sun and tha is the root for moon. So it's like the opposites. And yoga means union. So hatha yoga is the union of opposites. And the idea is, as we practice yoga, as we practice consciousness, equanimity, presence, as we remember anicca, that things are changing, we get more adept at handling the ups and downs of life, the comfort and discomfort of life. So this idea of when do I push, when do I back off, it's really, to me, is like creating the inner polarity. If I'm always someone, or if I have a client I don't like to speak in absolutes. So if I catch myself, I'm going to be really conscious of it. Always, never. If I'm using those words, I'm probably lying. And this is a piece of integrity. So I'm being more conscious of it. If I'm somebody that's most of the time pushing, type A, go, 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 the polarity of that is to learn to create the inner softening, the inner, just right here, I can let go, I can surrender, I don't have to strive so much, I can allow. If I'm somebody that in most parts of my life, I'm just like really chilling and coasting and staying comfortable, then the medicine for me might be like, go into it, dig in, hold this, go take the ice bath, go into discomfort. And it's really knowing where we typically lie and how can we create that inner polarity and play the opposites within our own lives.
Is there a way to actually start to uncover truth? Is it curiosity? Is it that laboratory tuning in and like having curiosity for yourself and starting to ask questions within? Is it getting reflections from others? Like, how do you recommend getting that mirror to be like, oh, this is really where I'm at. Let's get honest. You just catching yourself in integrity that's beautiful. Most people would not even acknowledge that that is happening in that moment.
For sure. Yeah. And I'm even noticing in my life that 98% integrity is actually a lie. It's actually not truth. Truth is truth, capital T. And this is something that I'm working to become more aware of. So I would say it's both. One is for sure self-awareness. And two is getting feedback from the people around you. On our phones, we have GPS. Wherever I am in the world, I can open my Google Maps and it can tell me exactly where I am through satellites, right? GPS, global positioning satellite, something like this, tells me where I am. In life, it feels like, especially my brothers in life, are my satellites, where they tell me where I am. I have some really dear sisters also, but asking for feedback. And then they can show me my blind spots. And on a deeper level, it's me getting really honest with myself, because I've also seen, and this is a little bit of the people pleaser, old residue, I am pretty good at getting you to like me, saying the right things, wearing the right mask that helps me fit in. I've done this in my life. So sometimes I'll get the feedback from someone, they're like, you're amazing, like this bullshit. And I'm like, well, actually, I'm being in manipulation. And saying that, it makes me sad and it makes me a little angry that I have been so good at that in my life. And I've done it a lot. And it's not something I want to do anymore. So it's like getting feedback from others helps me see my blind spots, but then also getting really fucking honest with myself. How am I living? And recognizing this is what matters most. It's not what I post on social media. It's not even what I'm saying on a podcast or showing up with you. When nobody's around, how am I living?
That's so true. I do believe that we really do know. We know who we are. We know how we are. getting that feedback is helpful, but like you're saying, you can manipulate feedback, and a person can have a filter to give you feedback. They see certain parts, or they don't want to fully give you the thing. So ideally, you do have really tight homies and tight people in your corner that can give you it, and you do know. And if you give yourself the space to listen, to ask, to really get curious, like, where are my blind spots? Where am I not showing up in integrity? Most people will go through their lives without asking that. But even just to ask that, even what you just surfaced, I could reflect in myself, like, I'm doing that also. And that's the dark side of what we're talking about, of that people pleaser, of people that are facilitators, people that hold spaces. We want to be perceived in a certain light, because that also helps our impact. There's so many beautiful sides of the darkness that come through. So to be authentic as a leader, as a facilitator.
Yes. This is something that I'm really working to cultivate more of, is like real intimacy and showing up in truth. And this reminded me at Envision this year, I was able to lead people through ice baths. Daily. For 30 minutes, I would just have a microphone and just jam out to the 30, 40 people that were about to get in the ice bath. And typically, I would say this little prayer to be a channel. I did the same, as a similar prayer before this podcast of, may I just speak, may God speak through me and give these people whatever they need most. And there was a moment at Envision where I'm jamming out about something and I totally lost my train of thought. My old self would have quickly found a new thought, and instead I just brought a lot of attention to it, and I said, I completely zoned out. And what an opportunity for me to accept myself here, because there's a part of me that really wants you all to like me. And there's a part of me that really wants to do this right. So this is such a beautiful opportunity for me to accept the imperfections, the humanness that I am. And actually that, I felt like, of everything, and I have some chills, of everything I shared this week, and the channel was open. I was sharing some good shit. There were codes coming through. That actually was the thing that I could feel that landed the most. I could see it on people's faces. I could feel there's actually this intimacy to me. There's a quality that I experience. It feels like it's like in the air of this, whoa, did you feel that? And I'll sometimes ask this when I'm connecting with someone, or I'm like, whoa, do you feel this? Like this level of intimacy that's created. So this idea of authenticity, I think this is a new paradigm of leadership, and it's where I want to go.
That's the walking permission slip.
Yeah.
That's the real permission. It's not how much you know.
Yeah.
It's not what you say at the right time and then make that connection of those things in their brain. You say something that maybe you don't have the answer to, or you're not sure, or I just made a mistake, I'm going to name that. That ease in their bodies of, we don't have to perform.
Yeah.
It's felt energetically, right? As a people
100%.
pleaser, like, no, I'm always good in all spaces and people will like us, but it's not true. It's not real. And then how can you really drop into intimacy without that fullness of, I'm a human here navigating this, and I don't have all the answers. So to be in your body as a facilitator, because when I'm experiencing you lead, it doesn't feel like you have an agenda of like this and this, even though it's yoga and there's postures, but you feel so intimate with people. You feel so in your body.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Yeah, this I do think is a practice. I think that everybody has some level of being able to do this. I would call it one is trusting the channel. Letting myself be a channel is one way I would describe it. And then also really working with the natural emergence of whoever the people are that are in front of me, whatever's coming to the surface, whatever's emerging, cool, this is what we get to work with. This is one of my favorite technologies, and it is vulnerable as a space holder, because if I really open this space up to just hold space for what emerges, I don't know what I'm getting myself into. I may not have the tools for it. I may not have ever practiced it before. And in the yoga teacher training that I just led, we had a lot of these circles, which literally we would sit in a circle, 29 of us, and the invitation was, when you feel like you have some kind of like somatic charge in your body, maybe your heart's beating, maybe you're feeling something, it's like, means it's your turn. You don't have to know what you're going to say, and just go in the circle and start to express maybe through words, but maybe just through your movement, maybe through sound. And it was magic. It was magic. I have no idea what's going to come, and I don't know how to facilitate or hold it. And when I really trust, it works so well. And I would say that we did a lot of really deep exercises and workshops, and the circles, it's what I've heard from everybody. This was what made this so powerful. This is where the healing really happened. And going back to the authenticity and vulnerability piece, to step into a circle of 20 plus people, even if it's 8 people, to step in front of someone, to not have a plan, and just to allow whatever's coming through to come through, it's vulnerable, and wow, it's really healing when we create this empathy, this being, when we're surrounded by loving witnesses. This is where healing really happens.
Yeah, and this can happen with brothers, with sisters, with your partner. Name what we're feeling and just have the dialogue of expression. I do this in my morning practice for that reason. Like, I want to tune in and know my body and explore that space so I can be intimate with the world when I go into it.
Yeah.
Not with agendas of like what needs to be done.
Even what you're talking about is like naming the desires or the fears or naming what's unnamed. Typically that's coming from the heart. It's like the heart speaking. Because I've noticed this also in these circles, when it comes from story, it doesn't land so much. It's not that the story is not so important, because sometimes that can be really healing too, but it is this idea of the somatic approach, which is like a bottom-up approach, which it's the feelings in the body, sensations in the body, then emotions, then maybe we get to the story. Whereas a lot of traditional like talk therapy, it's story first, and story doesn't have the same impact. And I love this also, it feels like this is what's coming up for us a lot, is this idea that the more I am vulnerable, the more I say the thing that hasn't been said, the more intimacy that's created. Same thing with ourselves. The more that I let what hasn't been felt be felt, I feel so much of a deeper connection, deeper trust within myself. And I've been saying this now for the past, I don't know, year maybe, that intimacy, I believe, is the medicine that's going to change the world.
How do you define intimacy in this way? And when you say intimacy, what does that mean?
How do I define intimacy? One of the things that I feel maybe is how to create intimacy. I don't know if this is defining it, but creating it is revealing myself first. Just revealing myself, peeling back, like getting naked physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, of like, here I am. Here's the fullness of me. I'm not just going to show you the bright, beautiful parts, but let me show you the parts that maybe I've even had shame around. Maybe I have fear showing you, because I have a story that this part is unlovable. This creates intimacy. So intimacy is a space, a container where the walls are down and we get to be with each other, not with each other's like box, not with each other's masks. So many relationships, and I hear this with some of my friends that are maybe not in the men's work or like conscious spiritual world, and they're dating, and I know this game. I played it too, and in my early 20s, where it's like, I'm gonna be my best self, so I'm gonna wear the mask of the best version of me, and you're gonna wear the mask of the best version of you, and we actually don't have any relationship. It's just my facade and your facade are in a relationship. And then after a few weeks or months or years or however long it takes to be like, wow, it's fucking exhausting to have a mask. Now it's like, who are you? This is not the person that I started dating. And the opposite would be like, here I am, you know? And I really do work to, maybe for some people it might be too much, but if I'm meeting a woman that I'm interested in, the things that I perhaps hold some shame around, I work to just bring to the forefront. I give myself, I've been diagnosed with diabetes. I give myself insulin, and I have a story that makes me less of a desirable partner, a desirable man. And if I'm on a date with a woman, I used to go to the bathroom and give myself insulin. Now I'm like, I take insulin. Here I am, like giving myself a shot in my belly, and it creates intimacy. For some people, they're like, oh, I don't want to look, I can't do it. And also, it's like, I don't want to hide. I don't want to pretend.
Wow, so valuable to have that up front, to have the intimacy there when you're starting connection. If you're already connected with somebody, you have a partner, that you've connected to and you've been masked up. You have a friendship that you've been connected with and you're like, damn, I really want to drop in with this person, but I'm masked up. Is there a practice or a thing, a space to explore, or maybe there's something literally we can do right now because we're friends, we've known each other for a few years. Maybe there's a game, interaction, there's something that could happen right here, right now.
So a powerful practice that I've been using, that I've been practicing is, again, this idea of like revealing myself. So revealing the things, like my inner process, what's happening within me. And I may say something like, hey, I really just want to give you a look at my inner process and speak to that. And I'll share that my inner process right now, with you asking that question, first of all, it brings up some fear in me.
Yeah.
And for me, before I came here, I had a meeting with a brother who, it was great. And we were really talking about true things and going deep in things. And one of the things that came up for me, so I can share my inner landscape, this is kind of a practice. It's not so much about you, but I can still let you in on what's happening. Yeah, there's a woman that I met here that I have been connecting with, and it's been really beautiful. And I travel, and also, so this is, there's layers to this. But I'll say the main piece is there's a woman that I've been connecting with here. And after our second connection, and it got more spicy together, I was looking at her Instagram a little bit, and I saw that another woman that I've connected with not too long ago was liking her photos and commenting on her photos. And this brought up a lot of fear in me. And this is the 98% integrity. I've been speaking really clear to her, sharing my desires, sharing where I'm at with boundaries, sharing where I'm at around relationship and travel and all these things. But I didn't bring up that I've connected with this one woman that they obviously know each other to some extent. And what I'm noticing is that there's a really big opportunity for me, even though there was not full integrity in not sharing that this was alive for me, there's a really big opportunity for me to address this and to speak to both of these women. It brings up a lot of fear in me, but it feels like what I have to do. So with that scenario, because in some ways I was wearing a mask. So in that scenario, I'm going to invite each of these women to a conversation. Hopefully it can be in person. If not, then I would choose like a video call, right? Whatever is the most intimate is how I want to show up, not through text or something like this. And I'm going to invite them. I'm going to say, listen, there's something that I didn't share with you. And I'm going to speak to the somatic sensations in my body. I have a lot of fear right now. My heart's beating. And here it is. And I don't know the consequence of it. But what I do know is what I'm working to create in the world is more of this truth. Yeah. And it creates a little bit of like shame for me, a little bit of story of like, man, this is not really the man that I really want to be. The fact that I hid something, and it is the man that I want to be, to take ownership and be like, hey, listen, I'm sorry. And I'm taking responsibility for this. And here's the situation.
Wow. That's so revealing. That brings me so close to you that, it doesn't have to be about me, but you're sharing what happened for you today, what's alive for you right now, what are some things that are inside of you. I love that you're sharing it without an answer. Like you didn't already do it. You didn't already fulfill the thing and then share vulnerability. That's something that I think often happens, and I do as well. I'll be vulnerable after I figured it out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I did it.
For sure.
I found the solution. Okay, now I'll share that was hard and that made me sad, that made me this. You're in the midst of exploring this and you don't have you don't know the answers. You have to talk to them and they're still unknown. To share that, that's integrity. That's vulnerability. That's real to me. Yeah. Instead of, I did all these things. It was hard, but I did it and it's done. Yeah. Now look at me. It's like, no, I didn't fucking do it yet. Yeah. And I'm scared and I'm going to lean in. Yeah. That's huge, man. That's a great teaching for me. So thank you for being so real.
Yeah, thank you, bro. Thank you for inviting this in because, and I can feel in my body right now, even the discomfort. And I realize it doesn't feel like the people pleaser thing, but just looking at purpose more in my life over the past year, I'd say, especially in interactions with women. And I've mostly been traveling, haven't really been open for partnership because I got out of a 4-year relationship a year ago. But I've been getting this reflection a lot, like, wow, I feel so safe with you. I feel like I can be in my feminine, I can feel soft. And there's a part of me that I'm like, yeah, that feels really good because I've been doing some work. I get it. There's also a small portion that's like still manipulating. Don't want to do that anymore.
I can relate to this because of when I first started navigating Nosara, first moved here. I made a pact with myself to be celibate until I met somebody, and ended up being Lauren, that I wanted to relate to. It felt like for me something that had to be super clear and dialed in as I wanted to be a facilitator here and be somebody in the community. Did that, met Lauren, it was awesome, unfolded the way it did. We were open, and then I met another person and told her about her, and it was open, but I was not clear, even though I can make it look conscious. Oh, I know feminine and masculine dynamics, so I can kind of talk about open relating and, oh, this is all love and this comes from here, and there's, no, we're doing it beautifully, but really it was hard and it was hurtful to the other person.
Yep.
And it wasn't actually in integrity. For me, that didn't work at all, to keep it open and to navigate that. I couldn't do it.
I'm curious if in that moment there was a part of you that could feel that you weren't in full integrity.
Sure.
Yeah.
And gratefully, I had brothers here too to call me out. You knew Cam.
Yeah.
And it just, wasn't fully there when it came to relating. I had this story around open relating because of what I've read, so I could talk about it. But when I really looked at me, I'm like, oh no, that's not actually it. When it came to what was really true, I knew I was out of integrity and alignment, but I could reference these things that I've learned and read.
That's why it's important to you were really the ultimate gatekeeper. You were really the one that knows, you and God, this is it. Because, okay, sure, it was great. Cam was able to give you some reflections, but you probably would have been able to spin some bullshit to him too. So this is big, to really be able to tune in and be like, am I really living in alignment with what I know to be true, without getting into the shame and being really hard on yourself or on myself? It's like, is this really how I want to live?
Yeah.
And is this also idea of where do I want to be in a few years? Is this action, is how I'm living now getting me closer to that, or is it pulling me away from that? That to me is a really good beacon also.
Yeah. How do you bridge the gap to full integrity? I know you haven't done it, so this is why it's interesting. I haven't done it either. We understand what integrity is. We get it conceptually. We get it in action, but how do you start, and what do you need to do to bridge to being in full integrity?
Yeah.
And is that even possible? I guess you could speak to that too, like this marker.
I really work to recognize that we are human, and in our humanness, we're likely going to be imperfect. We're likely going to stumble and make some mistakes. That's not a justification. It's also an observation. The way I've already built to deeper integrity, because I'm a way more integral man now than I was 5 years ago, 8 years ago. I probably didn't even know what that word was or know anything about that. To me, one of the big things is it's not getting so down on myself. Like even in this situation that I'm in that hasn't been resolved yet, there hasn't been resolution. Because I've actually done some feelings work, because I've done work that has allowed me to be more sensitive, to understand and to feel more, this is where change happens. When I'm really numb or numbing myself, so when I was smoking weed every day or whatever it is, whatever tools I use to numb myself, porn, unconscious sex, whatever it is, then I wouldn't even get the gift of feeling the pain of being out of integrity. So for me, the more I've been willing to feel the pain, this is my belief, is that the thing that allows us to make a change in our patterns or behavior is feeling the pain of what that current pattern is. So if I continue to numb, I'm not going to change. And I might even say things like, this is just the way I am. Right? I've heard this from people. I probably said it at some point in my life. So for me, step one is like sensitizing myself, sitting with myself, right? Meditation really helps, doing different like feelings, check-ins with myself to see, whoa, this situation is actually causing me pain, and I don't want to create pain for myself anymore, So I'm going to do something different. So even this, with the situation I'm in, with not communicating to these two women who may know each other, it might not be a thing at all. It might just be like, okay, cool, thank you. And I think the less shame I have around it, the more it's going to be accepted. If I come in with all this shame, it might change their perception of it. But yeah, with this, just by feeling the pain that I've been feeling now today, especially because I had a couple conversations around it, it's like, okay, good. If I feel the pain enough, I'm going to do something differently next time. And I see these new possibilities that are arising actually from feeling the pain of that old choice. So there's more possibilities that are coming up for me. You talked about celibacy here. I'm like, I'm really feeling that celibacy is a good option for me to clear some of these old ways of relating, or even like the subtle manipulation. And I'm claiming now that I'm ready to meet my queen and call her in. And these patterns that I'm in while I'm traveling, connecting with different women, while it's really beautiful and nourishing, I don't believe it's actually bringing me closer to that.
That's the dance, right? Because you could say whatever you want. You could say you're exploring, and that could be true, and that could be fully in integrity. But then if you really dig into yourself and you'd be like, I understand intimacy, I understand pleasure. Do I need to keep dancing and playing in that? Or can I have this strict boundary that I'm holding? And that's painful. Something I've done recently in the people-pleasing aspect of noticing and going into the pain versus just avoiding it is like, if I say yes to something, and then it comes up to the point, and then I'm like, oh, I'm not really feeling it in my body. For me, it'd be easier to be like, okay, like just let them know I'm not feeling it. But no, I've been actually going to it, not feeling it. Be like, now I'm in this scenario. I said yes, I'm gonna fucking go because I said I would. I'm not just gonna overly say yes, because I get to that experience, I'm like, damn it, I'm tired as hell. But I told him I'd come here, so I'm here. I don't want to go somewhere tired again. Committed to the thing, so I would do it, so then I would feel bad in that thing and have pain that would be present, to then start saying no more. Realize that, versus, no, I'm just honoring my body, which is also a beautiful path for some, to be able to own that. And if you have to keep saying, I'm honoring my body, 5 times a week, okay, you got to do something different. You got to go to the thing and experience the pain, and you're like, I need to change this.
This is also the polarity. If you're somebody that flakes on all of your plans, then maybe what you need to do is be like, fuck, I'm not fully feeling it, but I'm strengthening this quality of doing what I say I'm going to do. So I'm going to go there, even if it's uncomfortable. Doesn't mean that I'm not meant to be there. If I'm somebody that's always like sacrificing and doing things I really don't want to do, then actually for you, the medicine is doing the opposite, is being like, no, I'm not going to go. Or I know I said yes earlier, but I really I'm working on listening to my body more, and it's a no for me. It's not a fuck yes. So this is that same thing where there's a path, and some humans are to the right of the path, so they have to go left. And some humans are to the left of the path, so they have to go right. So it could be actually people doing the opposites, and for both of them, it's right.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I like about how you're talking about integrity. It's not about finding 100% integrity, but it's about, I made the mistake. That was out of integrity. Okay, now coming back to integrity, rather than just moving on, is actually, I can come into integrity now. It's not that I'm now out of integrity. I can't find it somewhere else. It's like, no, I can come back to integrity here most of the time. And I think that's full integrity. And I think it's moment to moment. I think
for sure.
Like full integrity happens moment to moment to moment, like any other thing. And we can train. I think we train integrity like a muscle. We can train the ability to be in integrity moment to moment. In different relationships, it's harder than others. For me, family, difficult. But doing it, naming it, continue to claim it. I'm curious, this is a piece I want to go into because you named it, which is finding your queen. Because I didn't know this was happening until just now. But how do you look at that? And it sounds like you're starting to go down this path. That's why it's also interesting. But your interest in starting celibacy, that's a real fucking thing. It's a commitment.
It scares the shit out.
Yeah, right.
It really scares.
So because once you name it, it's a real commitment. It's like this marker until this time I will be, or until I meet that person, or this many months.
In that meeting this person thing can be a way that I bullshit myself. Because I'm like, this person is probably it. She's beautiful and she's great and she knows how to make butter.
Sugar milk. Exactly. She can milk a cow, which is all you desire. That's all Alex wants. So
that's it.
Women out there that can milk cows. Yeah, you could set the bar so low that you're like, yeah, whenever I meet her, a week later, oh, I met a girl. I think it's, for sure. You have to claim something real that you can measure when it's this kind of scenario where you want to train and claim something different.
Yeah.
How do you start to transition into that and then that also goes into the porn conversation, because I think we talked about this, of cutting porn out. There's pleasure and there's dopamine, there's all that.
For sure.
But to cut out the pleasure, but not the pleasure. Because if you're celibate, it's not that you have no pleasure in your life. I found pleasure in so many areas that I didn't have before. With food, I was like, it's orgasmic, right? I actually got a connection to more pleasure with women as friends, rather than like every woman is an opportunity to sleep with. It's like, no, sisters, conversations, just cuddling, all these things that are different that don't cross the line of my own boundaries of celibacy. So, and that's a loaded question, but going down this path of going into something you're claiming, how are you going to start honing into it?
One of the things I just did a couple of days ago was in my journaling practice, because I started to write down, this is what I'm claiming, and I really want to own that this is what I'm desiring and looking for. After 15 months of I'm not open for partnership, and I'm realizing now, like, okay, I'm in this space where I feel like actually this is what I want, and I'm ready or preparing myself for it now. So I made this list of what are the qualities that I am really desiring in a woman, like what are the things that are actually important. And I made this list, and then actually after the list I was like, this is really about me more than the other person. Who do I have to become to be this energetic match? Because I do have this feeling, this vision of the woman that's going to be my wife is going to be a very high caliber woman. And okay, so where am I out of integrity with being what I believe is a high caliber man? Again, not trying to be perfect, not getting myself like that, but that feels like a big one. It's who I am being. I believe that I'll attract the reciprocal to whatever level of integrity and truth that I'm living. I'm going to find that in the other. And I think this is a big part of life. And I see it in my life. The more that I do work on myself, the more that I come into greater integrity, the more that I'm able to hold space for me, that tends to happen now on the outside. And I tend to, like, I feel like my life is getting more and more beautiful as time is going on, because I'm just really working to be aware in my life and make the changes when I do feel the pain of not being in alignment. And as I come into greater and greater right relationship, I attract the things in my life that resonate. That feels like a huge piece for me, is what is right relationship? And coming into that feels really important. Yeah.
You often mention pain and these darker aspects. And for many teachers I know, and kind of the spiritual spaces, the conscious spaces, tend to be, myself included, on the more optimistic side of the spectrum. That's been my path for a long time, only recently getting more into the holistic lens of the human experience. Because even when it comes to something like this, you got to own the parts of, I'm not there yet. It doesn't mean you have to go into suffering around it. But you often mention the light and the dark, not good vibes only, right? When it comes to, maybe you call it manifesting, maybe you call it something different, but noticing the light and the dark in these spaces, how do you recognize both of them without giving one or the other greater power?
The practice that I've done that has helped me is both in my meditation practice and really just my spiritual practice in general, is I use this vision of sitting at a table and whoever comes gets a seat at the table. And it doesn't mean they get to take over the dinner, but letting these different parts of me have a seat at the table. So seeing the part of me in this example of, like, with women and integrity, seeing the part of me that really loves, my biggest drug in my life has been women. This has been the biggest drug for me, the biggest addiction. So not shaming that part or pushing it away, but the part of me that actually loves that, and then getting curious about it. Well, why? What's the purpose of this drug? What's the purpose of it? And then if I go a layer deeper, it's like, well, because then it makes me feel like I am a good man. Okay, well, what's the purpose of that? What does that do for you? Well, if I'm a good man, then then I'm more desirable. What's that going to get me? If I'm more desirable, then when this high caliber woman comes, she's going to be attracted to me. And I get a little more clear on what's the purpose. So this is one thing, is realizing that the shadows that I have, there's usually a deeper purpose that's not so shadowy or dark. And also, secondly, recognizing that, this to me is a big part of shadow work, is realizing that a lot of my patterns and strategies are survival strategies, and they are intelligent responses at some point in life. When I continue to push this piece away, it rebels, it screams out, it takes control, it throws temper tantrums. If I start to be like, okay, I see you, survival strategy, I see you, okay, cool, come on, come a little closer, you're welcome here. And then it lets go a little bit. I think about a child that doesn't get enough attention. They'll be screaming and breaking shit in order to get attention. And if I'm able to give all these parts of me attention, I see you, cool, you're welcome here. I'm not going to let you drive the car, but you're welcome here. You can come along for the ride. And then all of a sudden, this piece that used to cause mayhem is like, oh, okay, wow, I'm here and I'm loved too. And then the shadow, this is the same alchemy that happens, where the shadow becomes the gift. I'm thinking of the Gene Keys because they say something similar. It's the shadow to eventually becomes the city. Right. The city, which is in yoga, it's it's a superpower. And to me, it's being a loving witness to these shadowy aspects. Healing happens in the presence of a loving witness. Peter Levine says trauma happens in the absence of a loving witness. So this opposite end of the spectrum is healing happens when the presence of a loving witness. That could be another person, that could be a coach, it could be a community, it could be a teacher, and it also can be yourself. Yeah. And this to me is where the alchemy happens, where I can really be a loving witness to the parts of me that are really just calling out for love.
Always comes back to that, right?
Yeah.
So there's this theory I have that the subconscious is the body, and all of the parts you're mentioning, this is why somatic work is so valuable, is that these different shadow parts or pieces, or call it whatever you want, stuck places in the body, tension, when you love it, when you move it, when you express it, it's integrated, it's alchemized. And just like trauma can be stored in the body, so can joy, so can love, so can happiness. It's so often that we think, oh, trauma's stored in the body, and that's what it is. But the subconscious space of what you're speaking to, it gets really simplified. I like how simple you talk about it. Shadow work tends to be this huge, overbearing thing that people are afraid to go into. Yeah. It can be screaming into a pillow, and that can be scary, but also that can be so freeing. To bring it full circle, talking about anger and navigating, sharpening your sword. That's stored in the body. We can express that. It's a subconscious piece coming through in somatic work, loving on that little boy that didn't get that attention that I often do in my practices, but I often think of subconscious and these parts that aren't actively online that we're not thinking of is the body.
I love that. I also love that you said when I move it and express it, it becomes integrated. And the word integration, integer, it's whole, right? Integer is a whole number, so it comes from wholeness. To me, healing is wholeness. So healing isn't just positive vibes only. Healing is actually when I get to this deep level of acceptance of I have a light and a shadow, and I have a masculine and feminine energy in me. I'm yin, I am yang. There's parts of me that are beautiful, there's parts of me that are not so beautiful. Right? And when I can really embrace that and accept it, I feel like even not just accept, but embrace is a different level. Yeah. It's I'm not just accepting you, but I'm embracing that there's this part of me. And then I feel so much more whole. And it's healing is not something that then has to happen. I'm not even on a healing journey anymore. It's moment to moment where it's I'm here, I accept myself fully, I'm whole. Even when the shadows arise, it's okay, thank you, learning opportunity. And it's my curriculum. All of this is part of my curriculum in this incarnation, this lifetime. Whatever's arising for me, sometimes this could be looked at as spiritual bypassing depending on how it's taken, but life is not happening to me, life is happening for me. That doesn't mean it's going to be all positive and light, but it means I recognize that this is part of my curriculum, and it's all fuel for awakening. It's all fuel for awakening. So this experience that I'm having right now, where it feels like there's some challenge and I feel fear about the communication, owning up and cleaning up my messes, fuck yeah, thank you, God. because this allows me to be more awake.
Alexander Awakens.
I'm awakening, baby.
Thank you, brother. Wow. Beautifully said. I think you tied that up so well, and just honoring and seeing all of your parts, man.
Thank you.
Like even on this episode, just really showing all of your parts, not just the wisdom or your heart, but also the other parts that feel like they're not in the light, but you can bring them forward. It just speaks volumes to who you are as a man, and continuing to go towards wholeness, towards integrity, towards the fullness of life. And I continue to learn that from you every time I see you and connect with you, that this idea of this optimism towards only the good things, the joys, the excitements, and the play. And I love that. And to feel the same with the angers, the sadnesses, the griefs, and to love all of that, then it amplifies everything, and it actually integrates versus separates. So thank you for being that embodiment of truth. Thank you for being that vessel of awakening. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you, brother. I see you.
Thank you. So where can people find and connect with you?
Yeah, so best way on Instagram, Alexander Awakens. AlexanderAwakens.com is my website.
We'll share the links below so you can tap on those.